Stay frosty and head over to EasyMut.com for the cheapest MUT coins on the market. And when I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around 40 bucks. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? What's up? It's the Director. Chargers fans, how's everybody holding up, man? It's the off season. It's the middle of May. Type in the chat if anybody else is feeling the jitters from a deprivation of Chargers football. That September just feels forever away. I'm feeling that way right now, man. But I still think there's plenty to talk about when it comes to the Los Angeles Chargers. Undoubtedly getting better over the offseason, making a lot of good moves. You know, I think too often we're very critical of the Chargers. We're also passionate about this team. And we often voice our opinions when we're unhappy with a move or a decision. I think, though, that equally we need to give credit when credit is due. Praise the things that we like about the Chargers decision making and the direction that they're moving in. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the top 10 offseason moves for the Chargers. No, the Casey Hayward decision is not part of it. That's bait. But really, I want to highlight some of the things that the Chargers did right this offseason, kind of paint a picture for the positive consequences that this could have on the 2021 season, which honestly could spell a Justin Herbert MVP performance, which that's a video for a different day. Now, before we do get started, as a reminder, we're giving away a couple jerseys, folks, and I can't think of a better occasion than finally passing that 30,000 subscriber mark, guys. Thank you so much. This first signed jersey by Sean Merriman is going to my members. All you got to do to enter to win this jersey is be a member of my crew. Gesture of appreciation to you guys for helping us keep the lights on around here. But if you're not a member, not to worry. We're also giving away this signed Kellen Winslow jersey. All you got to do to enter for this one is be subscribed to the channel. Only subscribers can win. And then hit up the link in the description. Fill that out. Very, very simple to enter, guys. Again, thank you so much for helping us cross that 30,000 sub mark. Here's to the next 20,000 subs. I want to get to 50,000 subs, man. Who says there's no Chargers fans? But again, guys, thank you so much for helping me get this far. Again, a year ago, I lost my job to the pandemic. It took me a long time to get that job, and I had a decision, you know, put my heart and soul into YouTube or go do something else. And honestly, I'm very, very happy with the decision we made here. Super excited about the community that we've built here and very excited for the future of this channel. Guys, again, thank you so much. Let's get into this one. Enough mushy stuff. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The top 10 offseason moves for the Chargers in the 2021 season. Ooh, guys, I'm really excited about this one. I think pointing these out is very important to kind of reflecting on what the plan might be in 2021 for the Chargers when it comes to this offense, defense, personnel, etc., etc. So let's just jump right into this list. Starting at number 10, we'll make our way up to number 1, extending Michael Davis. Now, this signing may have gone under the radar for maybe a lot of Chargers fans. I think a lot of Chargers fans are really hoping this did happen. It's because Michael Davis, one of the remnants of the 2020 Chargers defensive backcourt, I think is super important to maintain going into the future. This Chargers DB core is going to look a little bit different from here on out, and I think Michael Davis, who did show some flashes in 2020, does have the makings of a solid cornerback too. He's got the length, he's got the speed, he's got the attributes that I think Brandon Staley can definitely utilize into turning into a very reliable cornerback too. And honestly, guys, I didn't want to see him go somewhere else because I really felt like he was gonna shine. I felt like he was this close to really turning some heads of the casual NFL fans into, you got to watch out for Michael Davis, man. He's got all the things to become one of the better defenders in this league, and I think maintaining him in this roster is one of the better decisions for the Chargers this offseason. Now, next up, this is going to be a decision that I think some Chargers fans are shocked to see on this list, but let me explain real quick, okay? Letting Hunter Henry and Melvin Ingram walk. Now, as a Chargers fan, especially a huge fan of both these players, man, I mean, I love Hunter Henry. I love Melvin Ingram. Been following these guys for years, and they've done a lot for this team. However, in this season specifically, the kind of transition that the Chargers are seeing in 2020 going into 2021, I think it may have been the right decision. Hunter Henry, as much as I love the guy, was probably asking for a little bit too much money, especially considering his injury history. This is something that's plagued the Chargers for a very, very long time. You can say the same thing about Melvin Ingram, man. There was concerns last season, if you remember, about him holding out. What the Chargers ended up having to do was guarantee his entire salary for 2020, which ended up kind of backfiring due to his, honestly, injuries not being on the field again this season. I think as good as these players are, and as much as I'm going to miss them playing for the Chargers, letting them walk, to me, felt a little uncharacteristic of the Bolts. We usually hold on to players and maybe suffer the consequences later if it, has something to do with injury or money, etc. I think this was a good move for the Chargers. Out with the old, in with the new. And again, it pains me to say it because I love these players, but I think this is the right move for the Chargers. The 2021 Chargers, I think, are the first step into the future, into something different, into new habits for this team. And I think letting go players that maybe have those kinds of red flags is a good move for the Chargers going forward. And again, we have some work to do in replacing these guys. We got Jared Cook in this season, the kind of, stepping stone for the tight end position. And then as for Melvin Ingram's position, we'll have to wait and see. But again, I think the right decision was trying to move away from those sorts of red flags and move into something maybe a little more consistent. Next up, we have at number 8 signing, and this is one that I think also went under the radar a little bit, signing Tristan, Viscano, and Alex Kessman, who you'll see here on the screen. This is at number 8 out of my top 10, folks, a kicker. A kicker by the name of Alex Kessman, Tristan Viscano, competing with Michael Badgley this offseason. If you're a Chargers fan, you're no stranger to this scenario. The Chargers so close to closing this game out in the fourth quarter, and lo and behold, we miss a field goal. This is something that we have suffered through for a very, very long time, and honestly, for a while, I really was hoping that Michael Badgley would be the answer at kicker, but it's just not. Now, some people were really hoping to go out and sign a big name, maybe even draft a guy in the middle to late rounds. I think the Chargers are doing it right here. Go out there and grab a couple of guys as competition for Michael Badgley. Maybe lights a fire under Badgley's butt. Gets him on the practice field a little bit more. Maybe it helps him execute a little bit better. But maybe even best case scenario, we find something special in a guy like Kessman or Viscano that can step into that role. And honestly, I think these two guys have the best shot at making the roster over maybe other undrafted free agents, etc. So don't overlook the signing of kickers, especially with a team like the Chargers, who's been suffering at the position of kicker for a long time. I think having competition in there is a very, very good idea. Next up at number 7, this is one that happened early in the season. The Chargers coordinator turnover, staff turnover. I wanted to highlight at number 7 the hirings of Joe Lombardi, Ronaldo Hill, and Darius Swinton. Of course, our offense coordinator, defense coordinator, and special teams coordinator. These hirings, I feel, are super important, again, because of letting go of the past a little bit. The system that Justin Herbert was in was fine because of the result we saw in his Offensive Rookie of the Year season. However, I feel like the Chargers knew that in order to move into the future, we would have to really mold this team around Justin Herbert. And these hirings, at least to me, spell just that. Joe Lombardi coming from a New Orleans Saints offense that's been very balanced and consistent for years. Ronaldo Hill, Darius Swinton, both having very, very good things to contribute to those aspects of the game as well. But specifically Joe Lombardi, to me, I feel like is going to be a hiring that does pay off in the future. And honestly, I think it's a really, really good system to throw Justin Herbert into and get him to adapt to it. I think this team is really going to depend on Justin Herbert going forward, as they should, and these sorts of hirings spell towards that kind of plan of action. Next up at number 6, let's get into some of the draft hotness of the 2021 season for the Chargers. Drafting Alonzo Samuel Jr. Now, we talked about extending Michael Davis. We kind of hinted at, Casey Hayward being let go, which to me, I personally probably would have liked to keep him on the team. But Alonzo Samuel Jr., number 1, huge steal in the second round. He had no business being in the second round for the Chargers. Number 2, again, spelling towards the future. Brandon Staley, his vision for this defense is going to require some very specific skills. I feel like Alonzo Samuel Jr. brings those specific skill sets to the table that are really going to thrive in Brandon Staley's defense. Not to mention the caliber of player he is, the kind of talent that he possesses. He could truly, honestly, guys, be one of those dark horse candidates for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I'm not talking out my butt like a Chargers fan. I truly think the situation that Alonzo Samuel's been put into is going to spell success for him. The Chargers getting a steal in the draft, the Chargers, adding pieces to this defense that in the future are going to be very, very essential to this team. How can you not love the signing or the drafting of Alonzo Samuel Jr. in the 2021 season? You guys could see my reaction during the live draft. I was hyped, and for good reason. So he's going to make number 6 on this list. At number 5, a move that maybe, again, went under the radar, was happening during the entire, excitement of the NFL draft. The Chargers exercising Derwin James' 5th-year option. This is pretty big, guys. Again, number 5 on the list. Derwin James. People ask me all the time, or I should say they were asking me, Director, are we going to, exercise his 5th-year option? Should we extend him? Is he worth it? Because obviously Derwin James comes with, again, some red flags. And these are the same red flags I was talking about with Henry and Ingram. The difference is with Derwin James is that when Derwin James is on the field, the kind of impact he has to this defense well surpasses the kind of impact that Henry or Ingram had, on their respective sides of the ball. When Derwin James is healthy, and I say this all the time, he can take, let's say, the rank of a defense up a few spots just by himself. The sort of impact that he has on this defense changes the way we run this defense, changes the way this defense looks, changes the way that the offensive coordinators that are opposing us have to adjust to the game. Derwin James is just a do-it-all superstar. So when people were asking me, is he worth extending? Is he worth the 5th-year option? My answer was a resounding yes every single time. And yes, it's a roll of the dice. It really is. But it's the role that's worth taking because the kind of player he is, the kind of impact he has. And honestly, when it comes to maybe odds in the NFL, I think Derwin James is near the top when it comes to comeback player of the year. If he can stay on the field, guys, I think it's very evident why it was an easy decision for Tom Telesco to exercise that 5th-year option. And honestly, he's probably going to get a fat payday coming into next offseason. So Derwin James, that cannot go under the radar. That was a very, very good move by the Chargers. Next up at number 4, I'm sure a lot of you guys were waiting to hear this one. Rashaan Slater being drafted by the Chargers at number 13 overall. Again, this was more of an easy decision for Tom Telesco. This is an easy decision for the team. Rashaan Slater, just like Alonzo Samuel, was not supposed to be there at the Chargers pick in the draft. Very talented player. Some would say 1A, 1B with Penei Sewell. Guys, we got one of the best offensive linemen in this draft, and I would say for a past few drafts, this guy really does stand out as one of the best talents we've seen in a minute. Again, when you're being compared to Penei Sewell's being pegged as like one of the best linemen in the last decade. And again, it's 1A, 1B with Slater. And I think the Chargers, with such a desperate position of need at left tackle, kind of lucked out a little bit, but I also think they saw through the fog. They saw through a lot of the smoke screens of the NFL, and they stayed put. They understood what was happening in front of him in the draft, able to snag him without giving up any draft capital. That is also equally as important here. A little bit of luck, but also the awareness not to panic, stay put, and take Slater at 13. That was really, really huge. I said this in one of my videos, and it almost resonated with myself, right? What if the Chargers had given up, a day 2 pick in combination with a couple day 3 picks to move up and get Rashaan Slater? I don't think any Chargers fan would grade that less than an A+. The Chargers went out and they got their guy. In this universe, in this reality, the Chargers still got their guy and didn't have to give up any draft capital to do so. So this is one of the best moves this offseason. Rashaan Slater is going to be a plug-and-play left tackle, protecting Justin Herbert. These two are going to be linked together for a very long time. And this is one of the best investments we've seen as Chargers fans on this offensive line in a very, very, very long time. And I think it's a sigh of relief to a lot of Chargers fans that have been waiting for this to happen, especially in the days of Phillip Rivers. Next up at number 3.
Number 3, what's the third best thing the Chargers did this offseason? I think it's the one that a lot of Chargers fans maybe saw coming this season. But honestly, I wasn't completely sure it would happen. The firing of Anthony Lynn. Now, this is not a number 3 on the list to bag on Anthony Lynn, okay? I highly respect the man, the individual. I look up to him. You know, you look at what he was saying and his sort of leadership, his charisma in Hard Knocks. This is a solid human being, man. This is a very bright, wise, kind, intelligent human being. But for the Chargers last season in 2020, the sorts of mistakes that we're seeing from the coaching sideline, from Anthony Lynn, you know, the timeouts, the play calling, the awareness of what's going on in the game, like, it just felt kind of like stubborn coaching to me. The one thing that, if you guys watched my live reaction broadcast, was we all hated the run pass. And what I mean by that is that the Chargers were pretty notorious in very sensitive situations to run up the middle a couple of times, and when that didn't work, try and throw a pass which was super obvious and not be able to convert in those situations. It got very, very tiresome. And to me, Anthony Lynn was trying to force a system in LA that just wasn't going to work. I felt like he wanted to be a power run kind of team, you know, a team or a scheme that would adhere to skill sets of like a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb. We just didn't really have that strength on this team. We had Austin Eckler, one of the best scat backs, one of the best receiving backs in the league, and yet we still saw, you know, talents of like Kalen Ballage and Joshua Kelly run up the middle over and over again because he wanted to establish the run, I would say, in a way that wasn't to the strengths of the Chargers in 2020. On top of that, maybe the team building aspect of it wasn't heading in the right direction for this team. And I was worried that the Chargers were probably going to stick with him for at least a little while longer because everybody loves Anthony Lynn. The coaching staff loved him. Tom Telesco, I'm sure, loved him. The ownership, I'm sure, loved him. And making that move probably wasn't as easy as we all thought. So we got to take our hats off to the Chargers. Good luck to Anthony Lynn with the Detroit Lions. I truly, genuinely mean that. But he just wasn't the right fit for this team anymore. And it allowed the Chargers to move in the direction where they're going to get better in 2021. Honestly, under a new vision that I think is going to really take this league by storm. Okay? Now at number 2, the number 2 best thing the Chargers did this offseason was sign Corey Linsley. This is a move that I was screaming to the heavens all offseason long. If the Chargers do one thing this season, it needs to be signing Corey Linsley. The best center in football last year. He's been like a top 3 offensive lineman in the league for a couple of years going on now. And honestly, the impact that he had, the more I looked into him, the individual impact that he had on the Green Bay Packers of the past was tremendous. And if you guys watch the Packers of 2020 and 2019, they were very, very good at converting, you know, short down situations, converting on the goal line, up the middle, kind of the Anthony Lynn effect. What Anthony Lynn wanted to do, Corey Linsley was able to make happen. And the Chargers all of a sudden have the size, the strength up front to do stuff like that. Now, of course, you know, how many yards extra does a guy like Austin Eckler get? I don't know. I think it's going to be significant. But I think the Chargers added a piece that not only will give an immediate impact in 2021, but honestly, this is such a big move for the future as well. You guys know how many offensive linemen, starting offensive linemen, are still on this roster from last season? One, Brian Bulaga. You know, he's the only starter on this team from last season. The Chargers knew they had to turn over this offensive line quick. They got Justin Herbert, quarterback of the future, franchise guy. I really do think that Corey Linsley's presence is going to be much more important just than what he brings to the table on game day. I think his mentorship, his intelligence, his wisdom is going to spread throughout this offensive line, a compass, a guidance to these other offensive linemen to help gel everything together. It's really hard to completely redo an offensive line in one offseason, but when you got a leader like Corey Linsley, somebody that's going to really help shape this offensive line this offseason, but going into the future as well, because we're going to bring more people in, guys. A couple of the people we have on this roster now probably won't be here next season, and I am talking about guys maybe like Brian Bulaga, maybe like Oday Abushi. There's going to be new guys coming in very, very soon. So the leadership that Corey Linsley brings, the impact that he has on the game, I think is one of the most important things the Chargers did this offseason. This offensive line needed a lot of help, and they brought in the best guy to make sure that everybody that they bring in is on the same page and is creating an impact. Guys, this Chargers offensive line, oh my God. The difference between last season and this season is going to be evident very, very quickly. Very evident very soon in the first week of the NFL. Chargers fans are going to be very happy. but this also future-proofs any other additional offensive lineman we bring in. Super excited about this signing. Honestly, probably goes under the radar, but one of the best offseason signings of any team this season. And lastly, at number 1 for the Chargers, the best thing the Chargers did this offseason, can you guys guess? I'm sure you can guess. The hiring of Brandon Staley at number 1 right here. Brandon Staley. You guys remember before when we were all like speculating who the Chargers were going to bring in? You know, we got that guy from Buffalo. We got a guy from Kansas City. We all wanted an offensive-minded head coach to take Justin Herbert and turn him into like, you know, a rocket arm, super huge, impactful, massive point-scoring quarterback. The Chargers instead did something none of us really expected. Brandon Staley, defensive genius for the Los Angeles Rams. Sure, a couple of us kind of, you know, read his name here and there. I saw his name in a couple articles, but he really wasn't in my crosshairs, at least immediately. And when the Chargers did finally hire him, I had to do a little bit of homework. I had to understand why Brandon Staley was the number 1 candidate likely for the Chargers all along. It's because this guy is a freaking football genius, man. This guy is on another level. This guy absolutely understands the game of football inside and out, defensively especially. But I think analytically, which that's kind of the direction the league is headed in right now, this guy is on another level. This guy understands how to take the pieces of a football team, play them to their strengths, work on their weaknesses, and succeed. What he did with the Los Angeles Rams last season was nothing short of incredible. And he has a lot of similar pieces in Los Angeles to do it again. The Chargers defense might actually be one of the more lethal this upcoming 2021 season. But what I think also goes under the radar is the impact that he could have on this offense. Played quarterback way back in college. He understands the game from that perspective. But I think his intelligence, his football IQ, his awareness, his wisdom is what's really going to come to the table and shine for the Chargers offense this season too. I'm excited about his defense. I have like high expectations for his defense, but I think his offense might end up being the shock factor of the 2021 season, guys. The Chargers, in my opinion, after taking a step back, taking a look at the big picture, looking into Brandon Staley, absolutely made the right call here. This was the guy all along, and I think Brandon Staley and his vision is going to take the league by storm. He's a new coach. It might take a couple of seasons, but I think the immediate improvement is going to be evident week 1. Very excited. Well, guys, in the comment section below, maybe a little bit of longer video, but it's been a couple of days, right? Let me know in the comment section below some of the moves, your favorite moves of the Chargers this offseason. There's a lot more that the Chargers did that I think are moving in the right direction. Maybe there's some moves that we didn't quite agree with, but I think the Chargers, you know, at the end of the 2020 season into the beginning of the 2021 offseason look a lot better in a lot of different ways, especially the offensive line. Defense has made some improvements. This team, I think, is making some very intelligent moves. I want to hear what you guys felt was most exciting this offseason in order to improve the Bolts. Well, guys, hit up the like and sub button if you did enjoy this content. Remember to hit up the link in the description if you want to enter for the Kellen Winslow jersey. Pulling that on the 29th. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been the Director. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty.